church family, to another Wednesday night here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Paul Pursuti, and I'll be your host tonight. And I'm really glad to be here. So, what is our Wednesday night oasis? Well, this Wednesday, it's August 11th, and we have a lot going on here at the center in the month of August. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that towards the end of the program. But what is our oasis? It's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. And our Reverend Jeff and now our Reverend Jerry, who's in charge, would like our Wednesday night services to be informal, intimate, and rich. So that's what our intention is for tonight. We generally do it in a satsang style where a speaker comes and speaks on the monthly theme for about 20 minutes or so, and then we open it up for that informal, intimate, and rich discussion. So that'll give you a little bit of a roadmap of what we're doing tonight. Also for tonight, our speaker is wonderful, and she has a little project she's going to assign us to do. So if you can, find yourself a nice piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or a writing instrument, because she has a little exercise that will be a part of the program. So get yourself a generous piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and so you'll be ready for that when she brings that in. I'd like to remind you of our annual theme, which is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And for the month of August, it's a fun one, a playful pause for guidance. So Reverend Sally spoke on it. For those that you saw on Sunday, Reverend Jerry kicked it off the Sunday before that. And Reverend Sally was a doubleheader. She did Wednesday and kind of introduced her concept to that and gave us some things to take home to get ready for Sunday. And she brought a bubble machine into the sanctuary and had us take a moment or a pause to enjoy the bubbles in life. So that was something to remember from Sunday. If you're joining us for the first time, we welcome you. We have a place where you can stay connected. Everything that we do is on our website at www.oaklandcsl.org. On our homepage and our events page, you can find out what's going on. And in the lower left-hand corner, if you'd like to get our weekly newsletter of what's coming up in the week, there's a place you can enter your email and submit it, and you'll be getting our village news. Please know that you will be mic'd, and your camera will be turned off and your microphone will be turned off to improve the quality of transmission. So if you haven't done that already, please do it, or the Zoom team will do it. With that in mind, we're ready for our opening prayer. And our guest speaker tonight is Practitioner Judith Roberts, but she asked a friend. She brought a friend for prayer tonight, and that's going to be our practitioner, Elena Hutchinson. So Elena, if you're ready, could you open us up in prayer?
Yes, thank you, Paul. Oh, let's settle and just take a breath, each one a little deeper than the one before. There is only one presence, one power, one thing that imagined all of the creative worlds into being, worlds within worlds, that breathed life into all the living creatures, that breathed life into us, that holds us, sustains us, delights in us, that is the very ground of our being. We are that. We are, each one of us, that point in time and space where Spirit decided to show up to play on the planet as us, where out of the void something, someone was created that had never existed before. Someone new was imagined. I know that this service, where we look at the imagination, was blessed, is blessed. that every word spoken draws us deeper and deeper into that awareness of God's creative force moving in, through, and as us in every moment, that every word spoken draws us closer and closer to that realm of pure spirit, that divide between the void and the 10,000 things, that space between the in-breath and the out-breath, where nothing exists except pure imagination, to that realm of infinite, infinite possibilities that is the all that is. I speak my word, I allow that creative force that is my very life to flow through me into manifestation, right here, right now, through each one of us. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Elena. I mentioned earlier that our speaker tonight is the fabulous practitioner, Judith Roberts. She did a wonderful opening meditation, and she's speaking on the subject, sparking imagination. If you joined us since we first started, she will be doing an exercise, so you'll need a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. So I'm reminding those that just recently joined us, if you got a second, you'll need something to write on and to write with. Judith Roberts, what can I say about her? She's always perfectly lit up in Zoom. I just love it. Always perfect. I envy her lighting technique. Mine needs some work out here, all day in front of the church. So hopefully the sun won't set before the show is over, right? Judith always brings us what I call a nugget or a divine inspiration or thought that I've not heard before, and now she's a seasoned speaker. She's spoken for us on Wednesday night several times. Always a delight to have you here, Judith, and I'm thanking you in advance so much for being willing to do this for us. So right now, folks, I'm going to turn it over to Judith and let her have the floor. Judith, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And we'll see if the track record of nuggets continues. Let's hope so. So welcome everybody. I'm delighted to be here and happy that you're here. And as Paul mentioned, the topic tonight is sparking imagination. And I was given the topic and kind of chewed on it a little bit, and I thought, wow, this is a juicy one, and it's a fun one, and let's roll with it. Let's run with this. And then after Elena's prayer, I thought, well, there's nothing more to be said. Her prayer was so beautiful. But anyway, yes, we do, and we do have an exercise a little bit later. So I'll tell you what we have coming up. I'm going to share with you some thoughts and some quotes, and then introduce you to this little exercise that I think is stretches the imagination. And we're going to have a short YouTube clip, and then we're going to open it up for conversation about imagination. Why do we want to spark our imagination? How do we spark our imagination? And how do we feel when we do, when we're just in that imagination and expressing it? So that's what we have. And, when I was thinking about this, I thought, everything we have in our lives that is not natural, not made by nature, started with somebody's imagination. Every single thing, the chairs we're sitting on, the tables, the pieces of artwork, whatever we have began as somebody's thought, began as somebody's imagination, and then went through a process of manifestation and then all kinds of steps in order to come to us. And that's kind of extraordinary, because we just, live with all of our things and live with everything we have, and don't really think about that so much, that it began with imagination. And then everything in nature, as Elena was saying, nature is just creating and creating and creating, and the myriad of forms and beauty. And sometimes you look at insects and pictures of of really exotic insects or flowers, and sometimes I think, wow, who could have thought of that? Who could have imagined a creature like that? Whose creativity extends that far? And I'm thinking about the divine imagination, spirit's imagination. We're in this extraordinary world, and we have this extraordinary capacity. So I'm going to open with a couple of quotes. The first one is from Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way. And she said, the heart of creativity is an experience of the mystical union. The heart of the mystical union is an experience of creativity. Those who speak in spiritual terms routinely refer to God as the creator, but seldom see creator as the literal term for artist. I am suggesting you take the term creator quite literally. You are seeking to forge a creative alliance, artist to artist, with the great creator, capital G, capital C. And I like that. I like that we are forging a creative alliance, artist to artist, with the great creator. The second quote I'd like to read is from Joseph Chilton Pearce. And he said, we must accept that this creative pulse within us is God's creative pulse itself. And then the third one I wanted to read was from Johannes Brahms. And he said, straight away, the ideas flow in upon me directly from God. So, all of these are pointing to opening ourselves up. We have this term in Centers for Spiritual Living of being open at the top and letting creativity, letting imagination, letting the new flow in. And I was thinking about all the different ways that imagination serves us when we let our imagination go. And one of the things I was reminded of is that is the saying that a problem can't be solved with the same consciousness that created it. The consciousness has to change. Consciousness has to come from somewhere else to solve the problem. And one of the ways that's often spoken about is thinking outside the box. And I'm wondering, I'm not sure I'll be able to see all your hands, but I'm wondering, I'm going to change my view here to gallery view. Could you raise your hand if you've ever used the phrase think outside the box? Oh, and some of you have your cameras off, so I won't be able to see you. I can't see you necessarily. So, but yeah, I know many of you, or maybe even all of you. And then I want to see a show of hands of how many of you know where that phrase comes from, to think outside the box. Well, so far I'm not seeing any hands. Oh, Carmen.
There's 3 hands up.
Carmen and Elena. So I'm gonna thank you. Well, that's cool. And we'll see if what you understand thinking outside the box, if your understanding of that is the same as mine. I'm gonna do an exercise, ask you to do an exercise that requires thinking outside the box to stretch our imaginations a little bit. And if you already know, it's solving a puzzle. If you already know the answer to this, just bear with us for a few minutes. This is just going to take a few minutes. I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to put something on the screen, and then I'll speak to it and ask you to duplicate it on your page with your paper and pen or pencil. So give me a minute here. Okay, and now I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Do you see some dots there? Okay, let me try this again. Share. This is giving me an odd, it's not doing what it's supposed to do.
Are you, once you see what you want, are you seeing in the bottom right-hand corner, ready to share it with the whole?
I have it, I have my share, my page on a second screen. But you know what I'll do? I'll move it over to the first screen and maybe that'll help us. Let's see here, share.
Yeah, you don't have to be the host to do this, Gabriella, but thank you so much for your thoughts on that.
Well, it's not, it's actually not. Okay, so I can lead this without you seeing the screen. It would be helpful if you could. But what I want to ask you to do is create 9 dots, 3 dots in a row, second row, 3 dots in a row, and then the third row, 3 dots in a row. And your task is, I'm really sorry this isn't sharing properly. Your task is to connect all the dots by drawing 4 lines without taking your pen off the page. And that's it. That's it. It's not an obvious thing to do. And it requires thinking outside the box. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do this.
Did you say that again about, I got the 9 dots, 3, 3,
Okay.
and 3.
You have 9 dots, 3 in a row, and then 3 in the middle, and then 3 at the bottom. In fact, you know what? I could draw this for you and just show it to you. In fact, this is how I'll do it. This is how I'll do it. This will work. I'll just put this in front of the camera. Okay. So this is what it looks like. 9 dots, 3 in each row. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you want to connect all the dots with 4 strokes without taking your pen off the page. That's the task. And I'll show you what isn't what you do. If you do this, 1 line down, if you make a square, that's 4 lines, but the middle dot isn't connected. So that doesn't solve the puzzle. You try to do it so that, draw your 4 lines so that all the dots are connected.
And there is a way to do this.
There's a way to do it, and I'm going to show it to you.
I hope so.
Yeah. And it requires thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Shall I show you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I am going to show you. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
It looks a little bit like a kite.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to draw 2 of the lines outside of the box. And this is where I understand thinking outside the box comes from. Because if you just try to stay within that square of the 9 dots, you can't solve this puzzle. So Carmen and whoever else said they knew the answer to this. Was this what you understood too?
No, not really, but that's a good one.
It's a good one, isn't it? It's a good one.
I mean, there's like a dozen times and I still could never do it.
You could never do it. Yeah, it is. It's a mind bender. It's a mind bender.
Right, can you show us yours one more time?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I'll put it on speaker this time, speaker view instead of gallery view. Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that you do have to think differently. I never could get it. I see. I was almost there.
Yeah, it's a mind bender, and this is, you know, when we're stretching our imagination or trying to solve a problem or solve a puzzle, we've got to come from a different place and approach it from a different angle in order to come up with the solutions. And we're not just talking about problem solving here, but imagination is one way that we can, or I should say problem solving is one way we can benefit from imagination. So I'd like to show you a short YouTube video. Peter's gonna play it. And the reason I'm showing this is because we're talking about imagination, and imagination can be so much fun and playful, and there's so many ways that it can manifest. And I just had a birthday, and I went online into Facebook and looked at all my Facebook messages, which were so sweet and so wonderful. And one person posted this YouTube. It was a happy birthday YouTube, but I just thought it was pretty extraordinary to see this woman's creativity and imagination expressed. And she's a pianist. Her name is Nicole Pesky. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. And remember, I gave you the quote earlier: straight away, the ideas flow in upon me directly from God. Well, one of the pieces she plays is one of what she's imagining Brahms might play, as well as some other composers. So this is only about 3+ minutes, so it's a short one, but it's a fun one. Peter, can you play the YouTube?
Right. Okay. Let's see. We gotta go here.
It's amazing when you mash up things, you never know what composers are going to go with which artists. And I tell you, I often wonder, like, well, say if Beethoven were alive today, or Mozart, or how they would play some of these things. Like, you know, take for instance, Happy Birthday. I wonder how Beethoven might play Happy Birthday.
Oh, we're not hearing it. There it is.
Chopin. and Mozart.
So that was her version of Happy Birthday from 4 different classical composers. And I just thought it was really fun, just showing her creativity and her imagination. I wanted to open it up now to just hear from you about why should we spark our imagination, and how do you feel when you're expressing your imagination, and how do you express your imagination? And you can answer any one of those questions. I just want to get the general feeling of it, and I think we can be resources for each other about this topic. So I wanted to just open it up, and I know some of you are painters and some of you are all of us create. We can create with our thoughts and with our words and with our writing and with our speaking. We're always creating in some form. So I'd like to hear from some of you about this, about and why spark your imagination. And just raise your hand like this, or in the let's see, where is it, Peggy?
Yeah, you want to go to
Actions.
In the reactions. You can raise your
reactions?
hand
Yeah.
in the reactions, or raise it on the screen like this.
Mhm.
Oh, Barbara's there. Hi,
Mhm.
Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
Oh.
I was just going to say, when I get into that space, it's the closest feeling you can get to being a little kid again and just playing.
And how do you get into it, Elena? How do you move into that? What sparks your imagination?
Um, Mostly, what I'm doing is writing. I'm not good at the 3D world and moving things around, so painting, crafts. I mostly need time. It's like slowing down and knowing that you've got some spaciousness really helps, and just the desire to get into that. It's like, and to have that fun space is almost enough to draw me in. When I have to write now, I go into prayer. I do the first 2 steps of the spiritual mind treatment, and then just ask for a download. So,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, ask for a download. Yeah, that seemed to be a pretty consistent message of just opening up and letting something come through.
yeah.
Barbara,
Barbara.
mic yourself, Barbara. There you go.
The last time I felt that kind of imaginative creativity was I was visiting my mom in Indiana in the nursing home, and she has a teddy bear that she always holds. And one day I just started imagining a song, and so I picked up her teddy bear and I had the teddy bear dancing in her lap, and I was making up a song, and the bear was singing to my mom. And then after the song finished, I would put the bear up close to her cheek, and she would give the bear a hug. And then a little while later, I made up another song, and then I made up another song. And it was like the person said before me, is I felt like a little kid, you know, my little child's creativity, just kind of having fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's and you've become a songwriter. Thank you. That's beautiful. Anyone else?
Margot?
You're muted, Margot.
You know, I love the imaginal world. There's lots of things that connects me to it. Recently, certainly the Olympics, because I love sports, and I just feel like when you get into the world that they create in order to perform like that, um, I was sparked for 2 weeks and just in hog heaven. But I think the why of developing it, it can be gardening, soul collage work, playing with my grandchildren, a million things. But I feel like when we talk about co-creating with God, when we do the affirmative prayer, we are in the imaginal world, that it is where the mental equivalents live. If I'm homeless, but I say I have the perfect house for me, I am living in the imaginal space. And to the extent that I believe in my own imagination, I am going to create that perfect place to live, or um, abundance, or whatever it is, because we're not looking at what is the situation. We're creating I'm creating in my imagination, and seeing it and living it and feeling it, and if I can totally believe it, I'm co-creating it. So I think I love the topic. I think it is a level of consciousness that we have as human beings. We don't know if all the other animals can imagine things and live into them, but good topic.
Yeah, so well said, Margot. Thank you. So well said. I think I'm going to share a quote from Einstein after what Margot said. She reminded me of it. And he said, I am enough of an artist to draw freely upon my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. We can go anywhere. We can go anywhere. There's no limit in imagination. Would anyone else like to share about why you want to get into your imagination and how you do it also?
Carmen has her hand up.
Hi.
There you go.
Yeah, Carmen. Hi,
Oh,
can you hear me?
Carmen. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that quote by Albert Einstein. And the first quote you said, one of your other quotes, he also said you can't change a problem at the level you created it.
Right.
And yeah, that one too. And I really love his quotes. I remember about 18 years ago, I wanted to create something to empower women. And I would go to the lake and just pray and write and just allow God to express through me what this would be. I wanted to merge the power of physical fitness with spirituality. And I came up with this wonderful program that I did for 17 years that just incorporated women to be their best, their highest self, honoring the woman, the womb, the way shower, the gatekeeper, um, just honoring the goddess and who she was. And it was so, um, I felt uplifting. Well, they did too. But it was clearly um, an idea from spirit, just really going deep and just imagining what all that would entail, just imagining, just allowing God to just, I just wrote what came out. And I thought, when it came out, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to work this out? And I just kept going to the lake and praying on it and writing on it until it came a way that it made sense, that I could do it, that I could actually execute it. Um, and it was just totally a wonderful imagination, and it was different. It was so different. And the clients, the participants really enjoyed it. And while it wasn't for everybody, it was for those who wanted to see God through physical fitness, through the temple, the venue, the body in which we were blessed to have, you know. So that's what came up for me when in talking about this, just that imagination. It was a wonderful experience. And I did it for 17 years. this work, and supported a lot of participants as well as myself. I eventually got men involved, um, to help them reach their feminine self. And yeah, it was just really good. But the imagination is just it's such a wonderful thing. And I piggyback what Elena says, just that childlike way of being, that innocence, that comes about, that just can create such worldliness and such beautiful things, and it's a humble experience too, because you just allow yourself to imagine. Yeah, that's it. I'm rattling now.
No,
Thank-
but Carmen, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. And what really touched my heart was because I hadn't heard your process before, and that the way it came to you, and then you listened and you manifested it.
yeah,
That's awesome. It's so
it
awesome.
it
Yeah.
was it was a gift. It was such a
Uh-huh.
gift.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. That's inspiring. Um, who else?
Reverend Jerry?
I love what everybody has said so far. And for me, I keep thinking about the visioning process and how that allows us to open up to, to that, catching that vision for ourselves. But what I want to share is how simple and how creative and simple it can be. And I want to give an example. And Paul, I hope you don't mind that I speak to this, but it's as simple as Paul and I having a conversation in the office at the center, and we're both looking at each other, and we're like, there's some energy between us that's happening, and all of a sudden we're talking about, wouldn't it be fabulous on a Sunday to have Lucian Baker and his grandmother Reverend E on the pulpit at the same time? And we both got chills. And then we decided, oh my gosh, brilliant. And so we're working on that. But it can just be as simple as connecting with someone too. It doesn't have to be an inside job. It can be connecting with somebody, and that energetic that happens, when you're being creative and talking. And Paul, you might want to share something about that.
Reverend Jerry said it because we actually got chills, and my go-to when that happens, when something divine, a divine inspiration or a divine thought comes in, it manifests by the hair on my arm standing up.
Ooh.
And I'll show people to say, see, that means whatever that energetic solution is divinely inspired. And what Reverend Jerry said, in that moment, we brought an idea forward, but it was brought in a unison collaboration. And I think that's the chemistry that Reverend Jerry and I had in the moment, that it was so easy and effortless, but it was mind-blowing that we would come up with this idea. Now, whether they decide that they'll do it or not is a whole different thing. But we thought it was a great idea that we think we can help manifest. So it was a collaborative, divinely inspired moment. And I had it with her.
We both compared our goosebumps and our hair standing out. We both, look.
So it's got to be good. It's got to be good.
And I want to say that Lucian is on board. I've been texting with him today.
Oh, yay.
So it'll be
you got a preview of a Sunday, you guys. But it happened spontaneously in the moment where two individuals came together to solve a problem. And after I see TC's next, Judith, but
Yeah.
My nugget for tonight, and I want to explore that maybe a little bit with you, was the quote you gave about solving a problem. I'm reading from my notes. On the page I was supposed to write my puzzle on, I used it for your notes. You said, the same thought that created the problem cannot solve the problem. And
The same
this was,
consciousness, the same consciousness.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have a problem, but it was like a building exercise that happened between us collaboratively. And I think that's on the same, we really thought out of the box. But if you would, can you tell me what your source of that idea was? Was it a person or?
I think it's another Einstein quote. I was paraphrasing it, but I think it came from Einstein, but I can look that up and confirm it with you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Because I'd like to explore that more.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Paul,
it-
what you're describing is, there's a saying that 1 + 1 make 11. And that's when those creative energies come together, that kind of collaboration, something completely beyond the two of you, or however many people there is, can emerge. It's just magical. So, and I had forgotten about that. So thank you both for sharing that.
Thank you, Reverend Jerry.
Judith, can I share
Yeah.
something?
Well,
Judith?
TC's also got her hand up. Just want
TC?
Okay.
to recognize you, TC.
Yeah, absolutely.
An aside, Paul, that may be an Einstein quote, but it's also something that Abraham Hicks goes into a lot. They say that the energy that happens when you make a request is completely different from the energy that you need to have when you receive the answer. And it's
Can
that
you say that one more time? The energy
that happens when you send out a request, like,
That-
ooh, I need something, right?
right?
Is completely different. You have to like shift your energy around that thought in order to receive the answer.
Okay.
It's like people say that prayer is talking to God. It's like, requesting things from God, and meditation is putting yourself in a place to hear the answers. It's that vibe.
Thank you.
Okay, so I came here to say that you asked like how you make it happen, and most of you know, I think, that I write transformational poetry, and it's very much like blues. It's very much about, it's ode to cookie dough and the empty promises of plastic wrap. It's very real world stuff. And I get these ideas, like I'm standing there with a plastic wrap going, oh my God. And I get a divine download or a spark of imagination or a spark of creativity. And it's like, wow, I can use this to explain as a metaphor for this entire other world. It's like the theme of that particular poem is, today I decide to believe in myself. But so I get that spark, and then I have to go write the poem. And I worked on the collection while I was in a advanced writers group. And in order to work on the poem, I would have to put myself in what I started thinking of as the poetry cave. And it was a specific energy that I put myself in so that I could have completely uninterrupted time and be open to the divine downloads that other people were talking about. It's like, what is the message of this poem? And it was a very deeply, very intense place to be. And I would come out of it usually very exhausted. And interestingly, I mean, in terms of like the energetic level, also editing the poems is a very different place. It's a more, I would sort of say, normal everyday place than the poetry cave, which is this like really intense, special place. And so it's this like 3-step combination of, I'll get this flash of something that it's like, oh my God, I need to write a poem about this. And Dave has gotten to the point where, 3 or 4 of the poems, he's like, oh my God, you look fabulous right now. You're like glowing with this energy. You have to write a poem about this. And so I was like, all right. So I wrote a poem about the day I told fuck you to my boss. And it's like so empowering. But anyway, it's creating space. It's like the spark of creativity needs space to live in. And we clutter up our space so much with TVs and Facebook and all of these other things. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do right now is create more just empty space in my life. I am complete.
Unmute yourself, Judith.
I said, thank you, TC. Yeah, creating space. And we all find our way. We all find our own poetry cave. So, thank you so much. Peggy, was there somebody else who had their hand up?
I didn't see anybody else. No. Anybody want to jump in at the end here? No?
Judith, that creating space thing, it makes me think of a combustion engine.
I see you,
And that-
Gabriella. I just want to let Gabriella, I see your hand up after Paul finishes.
Thinks of, it's a spark that goes into an empty chamber that has just gasoline fume in it. And that's what pushes the piston. So it's like, so yeah, you get the spark of imagination, but then you have to fuel it with something. So it keeps, so that momentum that came from the spark. And when TC said you create the space, that's the space where your spark ignites the fuel.
Right. Yeah, Paul, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
That helped me a lot. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And a container.
A container. Yeah, we're kind of short on time now. Did we have one more person?
Yes, Gabriella, did you still want
Gabriella,
to?
I want to ask Gabriella, can you kind of laser it,
Yeah, I just think the world needs us to use our imagination right now. And I think the world feels heavy and it's hard to access the idea of imagination, but I'm just like, oh, we all need that. So that's it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and as I said earlier, my teacher, Angelis Arian, or maybe I didn't say this earlier, but she said that the state of the world, and she's talking about all of our, the discord and the dysfunction and everything that we see around us. Of course, that's not all of the world, but she said it reflects a failure of imagination. And so as we open up to this creativity and our imagination that can help the world to flourish and help ourselves to flourish and help each other to flourish, it's there, that creative spark, which is all of you have expressed. It can create such a beautiful feeling inside, and then expressions of beauty outwardly as well. And we all have that within us. I'm going to close with two quotes. These are both quotes from Julia Cameron, again from The Artist's Way. And one of them is, she says, we ourselves are creations, and we in turn are meant to continue creativity by being creative ourselves. That we're creations and we're meant to continue creativity by being creative ourselves. And then the final one, and this one, I don't know, I think this one kind of, for me, it kind of wraps up the whole conversation. She says, our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity. So with that, I'd like to thank you all. And I think this is, it's a deep subject. Constance told me that Lucian is going to speak on this subject again. And so is Reverend Jacqueline going to speak on this subject on Sunday. So we get to do a deep dive into creativity. I also had a conversation with Elena before we got on about, we're all talking about this positive and beautiful side of imagination. There's also the other side of imagination where we can go down a rabbit hole and, you know, imagine things, you know, we can have fears that are imaginary. I mean, we can have fear things that our imaginations have created. And so there's a short technique that I've learned also from Angeles Arian that I employ all the time regularly, and I want to share it with you. And that is when you catch your mind taking you in a direction that's just a fantasy, it's not a real thing, like a thought like, I hope I don't get in a car accident today, you know, or something like that, some negative thing. The technique is to say to yourself 3 times, that's a story that doesn't need to happen. That's a story that doesn't need to happen. That's a story that doesn't need to happen, and nip it in the bud. And Elena, what was it that you said that you say? You need to unmute yourself.
So it varies, but something similar, like I don't need that to happen.
I don't need that to happen. Yeah, I don't need that to happen. Don't feed it, don't give it energy. Feed the fire of creativity that is bringing light and beauty into the world and into ourselves. So thank you all for your shares and for attending and for being here with each other. And I'm going to now turn it back over to Paul. Thank you so much.
Perfect as always. I got my nugget, that whole thing about Einstein or whoever, Abraham Hicks, that the same thought that created the problem, the same energetic can't solve it, or same consciousness. I am going to that is my new go-to from you, Judith. Thank you for that. That's my new Judith nugget. So there you go. I hope you all get as excited as I do with what Judith brings. So in that spirit of joyfulness and excitement, I want to ask you all to show your appreciation to Judith, however you can, clapping or showing your hands or saying something. I think you got some comments in the chat from Reverend Jerry you need to look at. So thank you, Judith. It's always a pleasure. Good to see you, Maggie. I see you down there. Good to see you. Thinking about you today, as a matter of fact, sending you good thoughts. So I'm glad you're all here. I'm going to run through some announcements. And thank you, Gabriella, for closing with that thought tonight. That was the perfect segue for me tonight. We all need a little bit more imagination in our world. So I think you've given us a task to look forward to. And if not, I have some announcements that you may also want to participate in. How's that for a segue, y'all? That will spark your imagination. On Sunday, August 15th, Reverend D. Jacqueline Edwards is talking about sparking imagination as part of our playful pause for guidance. That's our theme. And I think, Judith, you nailed it tonight with your talk. So thank you. So join us physically in person in the sanctuary, or you can watch her and the service live on Facebook or live stream. This service starts at 10:30. And please know that if you're joining us in person on Sunday, that everyone is required to wear a mask inside all of our buildings, and we will be practicing social distancing. But we get to, if you want to see her in person, you get to see her in the sanctuary. So this is exciting for me. Also, next Wednesday, August 18th, we already said it, Lucian Baker, one of our great practitioners and ministerial students, will also be speaking about our monthly theme, sparking imagination. Meditation at 6:30 and service at 7. And our Wednesday nights are going to continue in Zoom for a while in this format. I hope you like it, but we're going to continue this way. On Sunday, the prayer room or upper room will be right after service in the social hall and led by Practitioner Dorothy Mendez. Please note that there will be no in-person physical or digital meditation period going forward. However, there will be a brief meditation period at the beginning of the Sunday service at 10:30. so everyone can participate in both mediums. The Board of Trustees is holding an open forum on Friday, August 20th at 7 p.m., and that will be in Zoom. So this information will be on our events page as well as in the Village News. So, and I think I have one more Wednesday before I'll talk about it. Yes, it's a week from this Friday. So more information to follow, but it will be in Zoom on Friday, August 20th at 7 p.m. The last Friday of the month is always Diversity Circle Friday. And this month, they're hosting a virtual book reading with a panel of authors reading from the recently published anthology, Essential Truths, The Bay Area in Color. To order the book, check the Village News or our events page on the website for an ordering link. The Diversity Circle will meet on Friday, August 27th from 7 to 9, and that will be on Zoom, and you'll be able to get to it through the newsletter or through the events page. This is brand new, hot off the press. The Men of Spirit, a newly formed group for anyone who identifies as male, is having its first meeting on Saturday, August 28th from 1:30 to 4 in the social hall. Please RSVP to Sam Lejean. Please check the Village News or the events page for Sam's contact information. So men's group forming. Talk about inspiration and spark of imagination. In turn, let the teens in your life know Friday, August 27th at 6:30 p.m. Teens from the East Bay and beyond are joining in a Zoom evening for a TNT, Teens in New Thought. This is an evening of fun and friendship. You can contact Jackie Onapetti for more information and to receive the Zoom link. Her phone number is 510-325-0339 if you'd like to call her or text her. Her number is also on the Practitioner page on the website, and I'm sure there'll be a little bit more to come out about that.
Paul, it's
yes.
Constance. I have the live link now, so it'll be on the events page.
Thank you, Constance. See how fast things develop?
And also, I just want to tell you that this Sunday we're going to live stream to YouTube instead of Facebook.
Okay. So everything you can watch on live stream or YouTube this Sunday. Just a reminder, Reverend Jeff's memorial service will be Saturday, September 4th at 11 a.m. Please RSVP using the link on the events page or in the Village News. It's also on the front page, the homepage of the website. It's important that we know that you're coming to join us. Some quick other things for you to know. The bookstore courtyard clearance sale is resuming this Sunday right after service. The August Science of Mind magazines, which were sold out, have been replenished and have arrived, and they will be available for sale right after church. Also, remember, everything that's going on at the Oakland Center is at www.oaklandcsl.org. Don't forget to check out the Spiritual Weight Loss Group that meets every Saturday on Zoom from 9:30 to 11. You can text Deborah Jackson at 510-220-6175 for more information. Or if you want, yes.
Excuse me, but is Reverend Jeff's celebration going to be live streamed?
I believe it is.
Yes.
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 Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, great. Noontime Spiritual Journey with Dr. Dan, Monday through Friday. We have practitioner Susan Brecker with an in-person small group on Tuesdays from 3 to 4. And practitioner Zoe DeMiro has a Thursday evening on Zoom small group. All of this stuff is on the events page. Please check it out. Plenty of things to do. Places to spark your imagination here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. So speaking of our Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, it's time for our offering. I take our digital contribution bowl and I pass it through the squares, letting you know that you can put your digital donation in there, knowing abundance for all of us, knowing that what we contribute and we give, we receive in multitude back when we contribute in any way, shape, or form. So I say, and if you'll join me, joyously I give with an attitude of abundance, knowing that as I give, I do receive. And if you'd like to donate financially, we have ways to do that. Where else? Where everything else lives, including myself, www.oaklandcsl.org. There's a donate button there, as most of you know. For the credit card, you can text at 510-327-3431, or there's an address right there, 5000 Clairwood Drive, if you'd like to send something in that way. I am most grateful for your contributions, time, treasure, and talent. It's what makes us work here at the center easily, effortlessly, and with great, great gratitude. So I bless and receive your offering and release it. And I want to thank Judith again for inspiring me tonight, liven me up tonight, sparking my imagination. And of course, we'll close with Elena, who's been asked, also a ministerial student. I want to recognize her for that as well, who's going to close us in prayer. Again, thank you both. And the Zoom team, let me not forget them, please. Peggy and Constance, Peter and Alice. You guys are the best behind the scenes. And as always, it's wonderful when Reverend Jerry joins us. So yay, thank you. Okay, Elena, take us home.
Thank you, Paul. So let's just take a breath and find that space within where creativity lives, where spirit can enter in, can be invited in. We find ourselves so grateful, grateful for that spark in the mind of God that became each one of us, that grateful for that space that we created in our imaginations that brought us here tonight in this place at this time all together. Grateful for that connection that Judith invited us to in our imaginations, that connection to spirit, that river of creativity that we can just float out of here on into the world, knowing that as we align with that flow of creativity, we are, by that very act, drawing everything good into our space, drawing everything good that has already been created in the mind of God, that has already been given to us. It is simply manifesting and showing up in front of us. So I speak my word into the law, knowing that all that good has already been done. And so it is.